Good morning, and welcome to Inside the Issues. Inside the Issues is a public service of WANB, and it gives us the opportunity to talk with individuals who are working to make our community a better place. Joining us this morning is a young lady that is going to be representing the Greene County Chamber of Commerce, the Executive Director, Melody Longstreth. Mel, how are you this morning?
Very good, Doug. How are you?
I am doing well. This is a busy time of year for you. So first and foremost, thanks for taking the time to sit and chat with us. At the time we are recording this, we're only a short time out from when you had your last big chamber-sponsored event, and that was your annual banquet, correct?
Right, our 33rd annual.
Wow. Now, you weren't able to do one last year, correct?
We were not, right.
Pandemic.
Yes. And it's still affected this year, slightly. So,
Yeah.
We were in a new venue.
New venue, sort of a new look.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So
yes.
Give us some overview.
All right. Well, we have always been on the university campus and have been blessed to have been there for many years. And it's a beautiful event when we hold it there. And it's an opportunity for us to kind of, dust the cobwebs off a little bit and get a little dressy and
Sure.
and come up and have a great evening. And so this year when we started into the planning, of course, obviously pandemic issues were still at play. And long story short, we ended up holding it this year at Valley View Farm, the farm of the Orndorff family out on Route 218, and it's a barn venue.
Right.
So I decided let's do something completely out of the ordinary because we're not at our normal venue, and let's do something fun. The venue, it's just absolutely beautiful. If you haven't been there, you need to check it out. So we went with a theme called Business Boots and Blue Jeans. And so instead of the guys showing up in, a suit and tie and the ladies in, heels and a dress, I told everybody dust off your boots and put your blue jeans on, and people listened. They took it to heart. I had a lot of people say, "You're serious?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm serious." And so it was just a beautiful evening. We decorated the facility with all the fall decorations, and it was great. Everybody had a really nice time. The atmosphere was very relaxed because we were in relaxed clothing.
Right.
And I think everybody really enjoyed themselves.
Good food.
Good food.
Food provided by
Back Bay.
You had some liquid refreshments.
We did. Thistle Waits Vineyards was there offering their wines, and they also did a bar with beer for us. So you had a choice between beer and wine, which is something new for us too. The campus is a dry campus, so we've never had that aspect. So that was nice to be able to have a glass of wine.
Yeah, and then my buddy Lucian Schroyer doing music.
He did a fabulous job. If you haven't heard him play, you need to go to an event where he's playing. He did a great job, and he handled some announcements for us, and it's just such a pleasure to work with. So it was a really great night.
And attendance-wise, you had a good turnout.
We did. I expected originally when I started planning 60 people. I would have been tickled to have gotten 80. I had 162 reservations.
Wow.
So that was really mind-boggling because I've seen all of our other events really not hold their normal attendance.
Well, but again,
because of pandemic issues, right? So, I thought, this will just be a smaller event, and it was anything but small. It was awesome. In fact, I did have to turn a couple people away because I had no seats left.
Oh my! But a good problem to have.
Very good problem to have. Yes.
Now, the purpose for the banquet is multifaceted, but one of the big things is to announce some distinguished individuals.
Yes. So when we began this banquet in 1986 or 7, I forget the math now. Anyway, in the late 80s when we started 33 years ago, it was as you said, a banquet to celebrate the chamber and what we've done in the course of the year, but to begin our Distinguished Service Awards. And we have been giving them every year, obviously with the exception of last, to an individual and also to organizations and businesses. So we started the Mccracken Legacy Award in 2016. Prior to that, it had been the Organizational Distinguished Service Award that recognized nonprofits. Now it recognizes nonprofits and businesses. So we presented that award this year to the Waynesburg VFW, Post 4793, their auxiliary, and the Cooties, which their real name is the General Pup Tent number 33, and its auxiliary. It's a mouthful. I have to think about it
Yeah.
to get that out. For their service to the community, not only to the veterans community, but to the community at large. And in researching that piece for that evening and speaking with them, they do so many things that people have no idea that they do. And I mean, we could do a whole show just on what they do. So
Right.
I'm not going to get into all the particulars, but one of the things that they're most proud of is their support of the Veterans Hospital down in Clarksburg.
Right.
And they cook meals and take down. They do activities, just all sorts of things that they do for the veterans that are in that nursing facility. And then in addition, they created the honor guard for the county
Right.
that performs their ceremonies and rites at all memorial services, funerals, or anything that they're asked to participate in. And that's a collaborative effort not only with the VFW, but with all veterans organizations throughout the county. And as I said, I could go on to talk about them for a long time, but
Sure.
really deserving group of individuals. And I was very thankful that we got to recognize them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then we give away, as I said, our individual distinguished service award, and some years we give away a posthumous if we've had someone leave us. And it's always very difficult because it seems that we have, more than one person that is deserving, and maybe looking at that in the future on how to do something quite different with that particular award. But this year we gave the posthumous distinguished service award to Rick Black. He was chosen before the VFW was chosen, and there was no affiliation between the two groups that chose the winners, and it's kind of ironic that that's how it worked out.
Well, and for those who are not familiar, Rick was a veteran and very involved with the VFW.
Very involved.
And sadly, with his passing, the bad thing is it leaves a bit of a hole.
It does.
The good thing is there is an opportunity for other individuals to now pick up the torch.
Right.
But continue.
So we presented to Rick's family.
Right.
And I shared several stories with Rick because I was fortunate enough to count him as a friend. And as you said, he left a massive hole. He always picked the torch up and worked for the benefit of the veterans, and was instrumental in the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Traveling Wall coming to Greene
Right.
County. That was his brainchild, as was the Korean War Memorial. And then from those two things, that spun off the Veterans Memorial Park down by the museum.
Right.
So just in those three things alone, the legacy that he left is huge. But there's so much more. Again, you could do an entire segment on just
Precisely.
what he did. Then you move into our individual Distinguished Service Award, and that was given to Bly Blystone. His real name is George, but I think everybody calls him Bly.
Yeah, I made the mistake of calling him George one time. It only happened once.
Once.
Yeah.
He is a sweetheart of a man, extremely humble and very giving with his time. And his two main focuses, again, he's one of these people who sort of works under the radar. A lot of people know him, but you have no idea all that he does. And he has a long list on a resume if he ever created one of the things that he's done. But this year marked 50 years that he's been involved with the Greene County Historical Society, taking care of the property and the grounds and just being a volunteer and working on everything. He's very quiet, so a lot of times you don't know the things that he's done because he's quiet. But that's one of the things. If you go to the museum, you're going to see him.
Right.
He's sort of, just part of the woodwork there, but he's there all the time. But really, his true passion is the YA Young Machine Shop and Foundry in Rice's Landing. He's the caretaker of that building, and it's now on the National Registry, as well as I believe the Smithsonian has documented
Possibly.
a lot of the things that are there. And don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure I read about that at some point during my research. But that's now owned by the Rivers of Steel, and it represents something that's unique to our county and our history in the whole steel industry in the region.
Right.
And so he loves to show that facility off, and he is synonymous with that building.
Absolutely.
But then another thing that he does that's even more sort of off the radar is he is tremendously devoted to those recovering from addiction.
Yes.
He works with Steps Inside and the Greenbrier Treatment Center. And that's the work that you really never hear anything about. But his heart and soul was dedicated to that mission. And as it turned out, the picture that I ended up putting on his plaque, he told a story about that it was someone that he had been helping that was trying to get his life turned around,
right.
and starting a little t-shirt business, and it's a tie-dyed t-shirt. And I picked it because, number one, the smile that was on Bly's face is the most genuine of any of the photos that I had, and I just loved the happiness that, you know, just exuded out of that t-shirt with him in it smiling. And then to find out that night as he's on the podium that what the meaning was behind that shirt, I was so glad that that's the one I chose, and was probably led to choose it without knowing. But
Sure.
So that was who we recognized. We gave away some anniversary awards. We typically do that if a business has a big anniversary, or if a chamber member hits an anniversary. Now, not everyone was able to be there, but we did recognize Fox Ford for their 100 years. They're celebrating 100 years of business this year. And then Community Bank for 120 years.
Right.
And then we had 2 of our members out of about 8 who were receiving 25-year membership plaques, and that could be with us, and that was NovaCare and Producer's Supply. And then the end of the evening was our big auction.
Yes.
We're kind of known for having this really grand event as part of our banquet, and a lot of that goes to my former coworker Michelle King, who really took that and ran with it when she came on board 14 years ago. And so what we do at that is the businesses donate items, and then the guests they purchase tickets and deposit them, and
Sure.
go home with the items. And that event, or that portion of our event, funds our annual scholarships. And this year was the 31st year for the scholarship. And so we've helped at least 31 children, sometimes more than that.
Right.
And the scholarship is a $1,500 scholarship. Sometimes it's more than that if it's on an anniversary year. So at minimum, we have assisted 31 children to further their education, and we've donated over $46,000 since that project began. And it's funded almost primarily by that scholarship auction at the banquet.
Wow.
So it's a big deal, and everybody loves it. They can't wait for the tickets to come out so that they can see what they won. But that was how we wrapped up the evening, and very happy with how everything turned out, and just very blessed and thankful that we were able to have it this year.
Right.
And to have it in a beautiful space like we did.
Our guest this morning is the executive director of the Greene County Chamber of Commerce, and I emphasize that. It was only a few short years ago you made the transition from the Waynesburg Chamber of Commerce to the Greene County Chamber of Commerce. That transition, you've been happy with that transition?
Very much so. Very much so. We've talked about it for years before we ever did it.
Sure.
Only because we serve the whole county, but we were incorporated, and the name or the term Waynesburg has been associated with us since we started in 1901. There was a couple of name changes early on, but from about the 40s forward, it stuck with Waynesburg. At one point it said Greater Waynesburg area, then the Greater was dropped, and then it was Waynesburg area. Of course, that wasn't what was showing on the official documents. It was just Waynesburg Chamber of Commerce. But so we decided to go ahead and take that leap, and we did that in 2018, 17, 18, something like that. But yeah, so we're now the Greene County Chamber of Commerce, serve the whole county just like we did before.
Right.
But the name now reflects that.
One of the reasons that I wanted to have Mel as our guest is because of another big event that is coming up sooner rather than later, and that is the annual Christmas parade. Now, last year, because of the pandemic, things had to be adjusted.
Yes.
And that's a mild way of putting it. Now, with that having been said, you have decided to actually continue with at least some of the changes that you made. So instead of me putting words in your mouth, explain to us how this year's Christmas parade is going to function.
Okay. So you mentioned last year it was different, and we decided that we were going to have a parade one way or the other because the community had so much taken from it because of the pandemic, so many events and things that were canceled. The kids weren't in school the way they were supposed to be. So we decided we're doing something as a parade. So we went to the fairgrounds and we put together what I termed a reverse parade. Easy way to describe that is think of the Ogilvy light display,
Right.
where you drive through lighted displays. That's what we're doing with the parade, and we're going to do that again this year.
Okay.
The big reason we had to do it that way last year was the governor had shut down any state road for any blockage. Like
Yeah,
you
no
could not get a
permits were
permit.
being
Would not let that happen. So this year when we started to try to hold it on High Street, of course that had been lifted, but replaced with a now 7-page application
Right.
to close the street, along with
Stacks of insurance that were
stacks
required.
of insurance.
and-
Yes,
yes.
it was a real nightmare. So worked with the borough police and our insurance provider, and it just got to a point where I did not feel comfortable moving forward with that particular plan because there were too many things that could happen that could pull the rug out from under us at the last minute. And the amount of work that goes into planning the parade to hold it on High Street, I was not willing to put in that time and energy and effort on behalf of the county and its residents only to have one decision
Right.
completely pull the rug out from under it.
Yeah.
So I decided that, and I went with my board and we discussed it, and we are safe to have it on the fairgrounds. We know that it will happen regardless of what may happen at the state level. So that's what we're doing again. So it'll be Saturday, December 4th at 2 p.m.
Okay.
And that's our historic date and time. So
Right.
we were able to keep that. So spectators will arrive in their vehicle at the east gate of the fairgrounds. And the east gate is the one on Route 21 close to Borch Chevrolet.
Right. Right.
So you'll turn in there and be greeted and parked. When you start then through the parade route that's laid out on the fairgrounds, you'll be instructed to tune in to WAMB.
Hey, that's us.
That's you. And you will be here doing live music for us.
Yeah, which is what we did last year. And we'll take a quick little aside there. When Mel reached out to me last year and said, hey, you know, you think this is something that, number one, can you do? And number two, are you willing to do? For those of you that know me, know that I adore Christmas music. And the caveat that I offered was, yes, I can do this, but don't pigeonhole me into only being able to play country Christmas music. Let me play some Frank Sinatra, some Dean Martin, maybe the Brian Setzer Orchestra, Brenda Lee, the Beach Boys. If it's Christmas music, let me just play Christmas music. And Mel was like, oh, okay. No, I mean, honestly, I think you enjoyed that idea.
Yes, immensely.
And then I kind of took it a step further and I dug into my own personal archives. I found some vintage Christmas jingles and the like, and kind of wove those in as well to just kind of give it that festive feel, as it were.
They were great.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to doing it again this year. And last year we had laid out, we'll do it for 2 hours. We actually ended up doing it for almost 2 hours and 45 minutes because you contacted me and said, hey, I still have people willing to go through. Are you willing to stay a little longer? So we did. And that's, I'm assuming that will be the plan again this year.
It is. It is.
But let me pause you there. What will be the fee to get in to the Christmas parade to participate, to drive through?
Absolutely nothing.
Good price.
Free.
Yeah.
Always good. No,
Okay.
This is our community service. So cars will just show up. You'll be parked and sent down through. Now, the units, we're going to continue this from last year. The units will not be handing anything out to you as you pass by.
Right.
We did it last year, obviously, because of COVID concerns. This year, we're keeping it just because that keeps the line moving.
You don't have the stop and start.
We don't have the stop and start. And as it started last year, we had a steady line the whole way through.
Right.
And people had their kids in the back and their dogs. And, you know, they were partying in their car. You know, they had snacks. And the kids loved it. So we're going to continue that this year. But at the very end of the parade, the elves are coming to the North Pole, and they're going to be handing the candy bags out again.
Fantastic.
So now they didn't bring the candy, but we took care of the candy.
Okay.
And we're going to do that again this year. We have a lot of organizations and individuals that is donating funds for us to go to Giant Eagle and purchase the candy.
Oh, terrific.
And I don't know how many pounds of candy we purchased last year, but it was a lot. A lot. And last year we had an organization who had given us books, children's books to put in. So every bag had a child's book.
Oh, wow.
So any organization that wants to contribute, or business, organization, individual, doesn't matter, and would like to put things in those bags, to please let us know. We'd be happy to. We're looking for volunteers to help pack them. That was a big, big job, because
sure.
we said the first 300 children, and I think we had closer to 400 bags. So it's fun, but it takes a lot of hands to make that happen. So if anybody would like to volunteer, we'll be doing that on Friday, the day before. December 3rd at the fairgrounds. I'm hoping that December 2nd, we can do all of our decorating of the building. So when I'm talking about the building, for those of you that don't know, there's 2 buildings on the fairgrounds. They're like the long, skinny buildings that sit side by side. I'm talking about the lower one, the one closest to the racetrack. It's known as Building 8, or the maintenance barn. And the cars actually drive through there. So when you get to that building to drive through, that's where you come to Santa's workshop. And the whole inside is decorated. We collected Toys for Tots last year. So when you came into the building, that was the only time that people came to your car. So the Toys for Tots folks, or the Toys for Tots was given to a motorcycle organization that participated last year that will be back again this year.
Okay.
And then on the opposite side was the folks from Corner Cupboard Food Bank. So if you wanted to bring donations of food, you could do that and drop that off. And of course, monetary donations are always welcome to the food bank, because of their connections. They can turn your $1 into $5 worth of food.
Right.
So that will be happening again.
Excellent.
Then our grand marshals are in there, the elves, and then of course our special guest.
Chris is coming back?
He's coming, and he's bringing the missus again.
Oh, terrific.
Yes,
and for just in case you are not catching on, my buddy Chris Kringle, Santa Claus, for the last several years. In fact, I don't know that there's ever been a year that Santa hasn't been able to make the parade. Has there ever been a year?
You are correct. He's always been here. Now, the missus has not always.
Well, but I also understand this, especially getting towards this time of year, she's very busy making extra cookies, making sure that the reindeer are properly fed and the like. But you say this year she will be able to
I
be
have
there.
word that yes, she's coming. And she will be doing what she did last year, which is, if the children have a letter that they would like to give to Santa, she will be collecting those as you go through that building and making sure that she takes them home for him to read.
Excellent.
So
now, if people have questions, whether they want to donate candy, if they want to volunteer, give us a few ways for people to get in touch with you.
And also if they want to participate, if they want to set up a display.
Okay.
So the best way is to call our chamber cell number, and that is 724-998-2386. And that will ring to the cell phone that I carry that's with me all the time.
Right.
As you know, the pandemic sort of changed our office hours slightly, and we're working in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 10 to 2, but we work full time.
Sure.
So that's why that number's the best. The office number's going to ring, but if it's Monday, I'm going to get your message. So if you call that cell number, it's on me. You can also reach out to us by email, and that general email is just info @greenechamber.org.
.org.
And don't forget the E on the end of the county name.
Right.
Yes, that happens frequently.
Yes.
So that's the best way to reach us. Our sponsor this year, again, is First Energy Foundation, contributing some of the funds that's necessary to put some of the bigger pieces together. And some of that money will also be used to purchase candy. Like I said, I don't know how many pounds. I'd like to maybe try to figure that out this year.
Would be interesting.
How many pounds of candy that we used. The parade is very, very fun in this format. I think people really, really enjoyed it. What will next year look like? I don't know.
Right.
We don't know. But for this year, we're going to make the best of the situation at hand. And seeing that we did it last year, I have all these ideas on how to make it bigger this year. And because schools are in, I believe we will have some band participation.
Oh, nice.
Last year, we didn't have any of the high school bands because the children were not in school and, of course, obviously couldn't do that.
Right.
But I do know for certain that Waynesburg Central High School, that also marches with Margaret Bell Miller Middle School Band, will be participating.
Okay.
And of course, the fire companies, and I've already gotten a lot of input and people who have said, yes, I'm definitely participating, here's my application, or it's coming. Last year we only had about 33 actual displays.
Okay.
I think we're going to surpass that easily this year.
I hate to say this, but we're just about out of time.
This happens all the time to
It
us.
does. It does. So let's give them a quick who, what, where, when, why in regards to the parade. Because you are doing the parade, it's going to look like it did, similar to what it did last year. You're calling it a reverse parade, which is probably the best way to describe it. What's the date for the parade?
Saturday, December the 4th.
What time will the parade run?
Starts at 2 and gates will close at 4.
Now, you say 2, and when you say 2 o'clock, you mean 2 o'clock. Now, however, when you say 4 o'clock, there's a little give and take with that. What is the cost for those who wish to drive through the parade?
There is no cost. If you would like to donate to the food bank or Toys for Tots at the end of the parade, that's entirely up to you, but there is no fee.
Excellent. Mel, give them the cell phone number one last time as we close out the program.
That is 724-998-2386.
Mel, thank you so much for taking the time to sit and chat with us. I wish you much success with the reverse parade. You and I am sure will be talking to finalize things for the broadcast portion of the parade itself. But fingers crossed that it goes as well as, if not better than, it did last year.
And also, one more little thought.
Absolutely.
Let it not be so cold and windy. It was really cold and windy last year.
A little chilly. Which, being inside the building here at WAMB Studios, I was grateful for that.
Yes.
Mel, thank you so much for taking the time to sit and chat with us.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity, Doug. Always a pleasure.
You have been listening to Inside the Issues, a public service of WANB.